I'm excited to share today because it's my first opportunity to publicly begin to describe an evolution of a phrase that was uncovered with conversations beyond quantum healing conversations with Candace Craw-Goldman and myself. So when I was invited to participate in Quantum Realms, my heart knew that it was time to do my best to share a beautiful heart opening that is still finding a place on the earth, at least for me, but possibly for anyone that might be led to listen today and to listen with an open heart. Over the years, Candace has become a friend and a guide, a teacher of Beyond Quantum Healing. And that's at the most fundamental levels. But even beneath the fundamental nature of my experience with her is almost like a timed memory that she would be the one to help me explore a phrase that continued to repeat in the sessions. That phrase is language of the heart. In the beginning of exploration with her through Beyond Quantum Healing, we wondered if that phrase was pointing to a sound or a tone or an overlay of an energy coming from the etheric. As I opened to the living language that is expressing through the language of the heart, I began to understand it more as a synthesis or a fusion between left brain and right brain that finds its seat in living heart language. In that way, it's a pointer to a vibration in the field. And that vibration is a memory of paradise. Sometimes I call it Eden. In the last few years, I've begun to share more about the restoration of paradise on this planet. It continues to excite me, which in my heart tells me that to make a place for paradise is to call it in. And so many of us that are deeply caring, overwhelmingly emotionally intelligent humans began their earth walk here in paradise, whether it aligns with the Lemurian origins or earlier. I wouldn't know right now, but we may know, I may know, as things progress. So I say this because anyone who might begin to resonate to a restoration of paradise as a sustaining experience on this planet has most certainly brought back in the codes to make that happen. I can feel an inner excitement as I'm talking about this. I really believe that so much of our world is an inside job, and to make room for the inner planes to begin to inform us is magical and at times revelatory and at other times ecstatic. So I'm also discovering that we are not having to be trained in the returning of this memory. It appears at this time anyway that connecting with anyone led to simply be and anchor this ancient frequency sets in motion conversations that are alive. We don't read about paradise to return, but I dare say that the timing of its restoration is keyed in with the end of the era, whether your cosmology calls it the Kali Yuga ending or the ascension. So many different names and expressions and experiences. But we don't have to enter a philosophical conversation. All we need to do is look at the world and what it is expressing as its population releases the end of a whole timeline of experience. And even as we release that timeline, there's a process that seems to be occurring whereby we make room for another reality. Might we call it the age of light? The return to harmony and innocence and deep caring and safety. Perfect words, really. And as they're being said out loud, they are representations of this barely describable phrase, language of the heart. But it feels very old. And thank goodness for millennia, our indigenous populations have done their best to maintain that language. Without these populations, we wouldn't have an energetic map to help us. So I want to share that the restoration of paradise is an energetic calling, I believe, whereby even listening to the words and what they might elicit begins a firing up of the inner sacred architecture of what it means to be a divine human. Because how could our minds possibly even begin to engage in this territory without a conversation that sets in motion the memories. I believe our beautiful minds have a place in this restoration process. But the beautiful minds have been so deeply conditioned that they need to be awakened out of a trance state or a state of slumber with language that's alive, that excites the mind as well as it excites the emotions. And I believe this language comes from the very deep spirit that has been sustained by awakened populations for a very long time. And now it's our turn. Because we're in the process of divesting of so much as humanity, through losses, through choices, through experiences that are helping us understand what is most life-affirming and sustaining. We come to make a place for what is most meaningful. And I had this strange thought that we are each bringing a piece of paradise with us. For myself, I believe in the alchemical process of language. But that doesn't mean I can barely handle what's coming out of my mouth right now. It's more of a trust factor that aligns with my offering. And so I share this part with you to thank you in this future timeline that is actually here right now, for acknowledging what you're really doing here, what you know in your heart is your sacred task, and how it might be a foundation of the restoration of one of the most magnificent timelines that we have ever experienced on Earth. I believe that time is now. I want that time to be now. Our hearts know. Thank you so much for listening to what Candace calls a stream of consciousness, and I suppose it is. May we all be blessed.